Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Network Hour podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me, but I just want to say happy Friday to everyone. Happy Friday to all my networkers out there. It's a sunny day, it's nice outside, and so I'm excited and enthusiastic today. Today, we have on our podcast a powerful woman, strong, accomplished, influential. I am glad that I am among her company, and it is really great to celebrate her in this month of Women History Month. And I want to welcome today our guest speaker, Dennett Edwards. Hi,
Yeah,
Dennett,
thank
how are you?
you. I'm well. How are you, Molly? Thank you for having me. I'm
I'm
excited to be
good.
here.
I'm good. So, Dennett is the founder of Corona Daze Professional Development Group. She has also been dubbed the Business Insider's 23 most innovative career coaches for 2020. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. She is also a master connector, she is a speaker, and she is a career strategist. So I am going to ask her this question. I know I've told you a lot already about her, but I'm sure there are some things that I probably have left out. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
Such a broad question, but yes, I'm all of that. I am a master connector. I do speak publicly, and I'm a career strategist. And the thing that I do that I know I do well is I help people see the power that they already have inside of them to recognize their greatness, right? And so this is the power that oftentimes they don't see it themselves. Most times when people come to me, they don't see it themselves. Other people may have seen it in them and have not told them and have not helped them bring that out to light. And so I help them to do that, to see what they already have in their hearts, minds, hands, and souls to achieve greatness. And I love doing that. So that is what I'll say about me. There's a whole bunch more that I could say, but that in a nutshell is what I do.
Yeah, that is great. And I know before we got on this call, we went to see about you. Tell us about your little dog, because I know you have that dog. I've seen it online. I've seen videos of him.
This
How
is funny. Because as you said that, she slithered off of her sofa, and I was like, "Do not come here," and she went the other way, thank God. Yes, I have a 65-pound who I think I think she gained a little more, 65-pound puppy. I keep calling her a puppy. She's still a puppy. She is 16 months old. Her name is Stormy, and she is a storm.
uh,
She's a lab beagle. Everybody thinks she's a pit bull, but she's a big, playful girl. That's my baby.
that is so cute. Yes, I love dogs too, but I don't think I could ever have one to take care of it. Because in the
Oh.
Caribbean, it's totally different. When we have dogs, they are not usually in the house and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you don't have to walk them because they run the yard and stuff. So I don't know if I can take the responsibility of having one, but I do love dogs. So I just want to ask, how has I know we're all going through this time. It's a pandemic and stuff like that. How has this time been for you since everybody has been at home and the pandemic and all that stuff? How has it been?
On one side, it was terribly difficult. I live in Maryland. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was in Washington, D.C., still far from my family, who is all in New York City. So that's been the most difficult, is that I'm away from my family. I did go up one time and I saw them, but I'm very close to my family. So I
Hmm.
have a 92-year-old grandmother who thinks she's 22, who I need to, wheel her in. And so it's been really difficult for her, having to be home, and she goes out every day. Pre-pandemic, she went out every day. So that piece of it has been really difficult for me. Not being able to really be connected with my family. The holidays, these Zoom holidays we had and all that stuff. And my family is West Indian,
Yeah.
right? So uh, we're a big, small family, big everywhere, but in terms of my immediate family, we're really tight. So that's been difficult. But then the other side of it is I've lived in the DMV area down here, kind of on and off, but more on since 2007. So I have a very strong network of friends who are my family now here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not have made it through this pandemic without them, and then I would not have made it through this pandemic without Corona Daze Professional Development Group. So the other piece of the pandemic for me that's been amazing is Corona Daze Professional Development Group. Like you know, we established this community on not on a whim, but out of a need. I didn't intend to do it, and many of the members have become friends. And they have helped me. They say I helped them, but they don't realize that they have helped me more than I helped them.
So let's get into that, because that was my other question, because networking is such a pivotal part in this and in what you do. So in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of all the challenges and being not away from family, not so much, and you came up with forming this group, Corona Days Professional Group. So tell me, why did you start the group, and where did the idea come from?
Okay, so I have always been a person that I helped people professionally since I was 19, and I tell people proudly I'm 47 and I do not look it. Uh, and so, even with my extra COVID weight, I still don't look it, right? Okay, so excuse me. That's what I get. Joking. Choked on my words, right? um, I always help people with resumes and preparing them for job interviews, coaching them into positions if they were on my team or worked in my organization. So when the pandemic started, and I've worked internationally. So my most recent W-2 employment was in Nairobi, Kenya. And so at that position, I worked in Kenya, South Africa, and Tanzania. I had
Mm-hmm.
offices in all three locations. So when the pandemic started in March, in the late March, people started to contact me, ask for help from all over the world, um, looking for work, preparing for job interviews and that kind of stuff. And I initially jumped in like I always do. Okay, I'll help you. And it became a lot of people. It At the point where I said it was too many people, it was 53 people. And I
Wow.
said, yeah, I can't, although all 53 didn't want resumes, there were a lot of resumes. And as much as I write them well, I do not like writing them. Not something I like to do. So I just said, hey, it would be better for me to teach you guys how to do some of this stuff than for me to do it for you, teach a man to fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked them, hey, if I start a group on Facebook, will you guys come over? And they all said yes. And I started the group thinking that it would just be a place where I would work with those people. I teach them some things. Before I even started, I reached out to a colleague of mine, former human resource manager who was one of my staff. And I said, hey, we're all home. Everybody is depressed and stressed out. Will you help me do some training? She said, sure. And so that was where I said, okay, we'll go into the group. I won't do all of the training. Her and I will tag team and we'll get other people. And I started with data because I like data. I use data to drive a lot of what I do, even in my personal life. Like I'm going on a vacation, I gotta, pull the stats and see, fine. So I immediately started with a poll. By the time I did the poll, we only had the group for 2 weeks, and I had 103 members. And they told me that they needed so much training in so many different areas. And I said, I'm not well versed enough to teach all of these. And so I started to go out onto LinkedIn with the purpose of growing my network so that my network could support the group. Like it was very intentional that I would find people who were pros in their areas, whatever it was, whether it was finance management, servant leadership, networking, resume writing, career strategy, career coaching, how to negotiate a salary. So I specifically went and searched for those people, and I connected with them, and then I just told them what I was doing, and they came and joined me. So that's where it came from. And then the name Corona Daze, Daze. I just came up with that. Well, the name Daze, my niece always, she's when she was 6, she said she wanted to be a chef. She's 13 now. And she was gonna start a restaurant, open a restaurant and call it Sky Days. Her name is Skylar. And she was gonna leave people mesmerized and dazed with her food. And I don't know why that just I thought of that and I said, we are mesmerized. We are
Mm-hmm.
dazed by
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic.
Yeah.
And but through that days we could come together and support one another, and we could build our career development skills. And so that's where the name came from, Corona Days Professional Development Group.
Awesome. 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 And Corona came from the pandemic, Corona.
From the pandemic,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's awesome. So when you decided that, okay, I couldn't do all of this by myself and I need to reach out to people, were you afraid of the initial stage of reaching out? Were you afraid of being rejected? How did you go about reaching out and making that pitch to those people that you wanted to come on board and help you with the training?
Mm. Yeah, so initially I thought, oh, what we're doing is so great, everybody wants this. They're all gonna I just need to tell them. And so I had a whole pitch, which was like 5 paragraphs. Okay. It was like 5 paragraphs. I had a pretty graphic that I would attach to, I would connect with somebody. I tell them, hey, I started this group, to help people who are unemployed or underemployed because of COVID, and you're a professional networker. Come help us because I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing right. And it worked for a lot of people, right? So a lot of people were like, "Hey, what you're doing is great." They would see I put that the poll that I had together with all the numbers, and some people love numbers, they love the visual.
Mm-hmm.
But then one day a woman said, really early, and I'm glad she did. She said, "That's not how you pitch somebody on LinkedIn." But she didn't give me any other information,
Oh,
right?
that's it. That was
That's
just
it. Yeah. She didn't say, you do it this way, right? And so I connected with someone who he has 200,000 followers on LinkedIn.
wow,
And
that's a lot.
yeah, and so yeah. And I love what he posts. This is Adam Karpiak. I hope I'm saying his name right. And I love what he posts. Like, he is a career coach and a resume writer. However, his posts let you know he's not here to play with any of these employers. He is supporting a job seeker. So I said, hey, I need to connect with him. Right. But he has 200,000 followers. Is he? So, of course, I sent the connection request with a little note saying I loved a post that he had posted up. And then I clicked the contact info, and he had his Gmail there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this must be a mistake, maybe from when he first started his
Yeah.
LinkedIn. It probably was. Because once I emailed him, he said, how'd you get my email? And I made it really short and sweet. And I said something like, I copied a piece of the post that he had. I love that. I wish more job seekers were willing to stand up for themselves like that. Can I talk to you for 15 minutes? And I said, I have this group, this career development group. I'm helping people who are unemployed for free. And I just sent it to a job seeker. I mean, I just showed that a job seeker that thread with me and Adam. And if I sent it like 7:58 at night, he responded by 8:02, like
Wow.
right there. And I'm sure it was on his phone. And so he responded and he said, "Oh, how'd you get my email? I love what you're doing." Right. And so he said, "I don't have time to support you in terms of do a training, but what can I do to support you? And I said, well, what you could do is, I don't know what the hell I'm doing out here on LinkedIn. Right. And I told him in the situation where the woman said I was, I did it wrong. And I said, Adam, I'm out here crashing and burning every day. And so he looked at my pitch and he was like, no, 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 no. And he told me what I should do. Then he did one better and he said, he explained to me that he can't accept any more connections because he had 200,000. He had over the cap or whatever. And only people can follow him. So he wouldn't even see that I sent him that connection request. So he said, I'm glad you emailed me. He would never see that connection request because I don't think they send them to him anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he then looked at everything I was posting on LinkedIn. And this is through like an email chain that we did for about an hour and a half that evening. And he told me everything I needed to do to reach out to people and how I needed to reach out to people like I did to him in the email, noting something about them, why I wanted to connect with them, keeping it about that person and not
Yeah.
about me, where initially it was all about my group. We're going to help the world, help everybody. Don't
Yeah.
you want to help everybody? Everybody
Yeah.
didn't want to help everybody. Or if they did, they had other people in their box saying the same thing or similar to me. He told me how to word my posts on LinkedIn, how to put my hash, like everything in this one thread. And we went back and forth. And then he even said, which I only did once because I don't like this tactic. He said, and then tag me in all your posts. He has 200,000 followers and they're active. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And he said, tag me in your posts. And that's that. Right. And then get your following up. And I didn't. What I did is about a day later, someone else, Elvin Freights from the EdUp experience, showed me a similar kindness. I used what Adam had told me, and I reached out to Elvin and I told him that I think it was his Powerful Women Wednesday,
Yes,
or it
that's
was something
great.
about his
Yeah.
podcast. Like I reached out to him. I told him that it was genuine. It was real that, I loved what he was doing. Thank you for elevating the voice of women. I think that's how it went. And then I told him, I'm doing this. What do you think? And he said, he said, I will not support you on Facebook. I don't do Facebook, straight out. But I will amplify your voice and your message. And then he immediately recognized me for Powerful Women Wednesday. Right? Like, what a kindness.
Yeah.
So, he tagged me in it, which got me so many. I always tell him, between him and then another connect, Dory, I got most of my initial like hardcore, like real supporters and connections through them. By them amplifying me. And so when he did that, the only time I tagged Adam Karpiak is I noted that this woman, and I didn't say who she is, and I will never do that. I said I reached out to this person and this was her. I said I'm out here crashing and burning every day on LinkedIn. This was her response. I said, but then I reached out to Adam and this was his response. And I copied and pasted his initial reaction. Where'd you get my email? I love what you're doing. I want to help you. And Elvin's. And I tagged both of them. And that was one of my top posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my top posts. No video, no picture, no nothing, just that. And so I learned out of that experience that so I wasn't scared. Like you said, I wasn't scared out the gate because I felt like everybody had to love what I was doing, right? Um, but I definitely learned that even if people could love what I was doing, that it didn't need to come from a me place. And so I started to read profiles and really read profiles, click. Once I saw the profile and I thought there was something of interest when I read through it, I then clicked to see their posts. Not necessarily all of their activity, but what they were posting, because I said what they're posting is stuff that they really care about, right?
Yeah.
And if it resonated with me in some kind of way, whether it was a post or their about section or something they said, that would be in my initial connection request. Something very short and succinct about that. And oftentimes I stopped telling people about the group. I just connected with them.
Mm.
And, and then they connect. Then once they connected with me, I sent a voice note so they could hear my voice. And I just say, thank you for connecting. Sometimes I say, I'd love to stay connected. If you'd ever like that, let me know. Many people did. Many people then responded, I never heard a voice note before, or your voice is so beautiful. What are you doing out here? And so that worked for me.
Mhm.
So yeah. So yes, that was a long drawn out, but that was my LinkedIn journey of crashing and burning. And now I'm doing it right.
I mean, yeah, because the pitch is so important, right? And then some
Mhm.
people are going to, even though you pitch wrong, some people are gonna be willing to help you and help you in
Yeah.
that learning journey, and there are others that is just going to push you away, and those are not the people you necessarily need in your network anyway. So
This is
you
true.
you're not supposed to be offended, or in any way that should not deter you from what you're trying to accomplish, and you didn't let that deter you, and so you went on with someone that even amplified you even bigger than
Yes.
that person probably would have. So
Yeah.
that's the lesson. That's definitely the lesson I learned there. And there's a quote I always live by, and I always say to people that I talk to, clients, people that I network with, is that the reward is greater than the risk of putting yourself out there. You're not going to
Yes.
know what the reward is going to be if you never put yourself out there. So it's okay to crash and burn sometimes, as long as you learn and you go from what you've learned. So
Yeah.
that was a really 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 good story. I couldn't ask for a better networking story than that one. So a question I have is, what do you think that your biggest advantages have been, from starting this group?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many. Um, so people like Adam and Alvin and Dory and all the others who have amplified the work that we do, you know. Um, so that has been great. So someone I didn't know, I had never connected with on a Zoom, and that's when I say I didn't know. We weren't even connected. She saw the work that I was doing, and she then posted on LinkedIn that the Business Insider was looking for the most innovative career coach, and she nominates me. And so that has been the biggest. Not that it was the Business Insider, but the fact that I increased my visibility,
Yeah.
which increased the visibility of the group. And so that has been the greatest thing that has come out of this in my networking, that now it kind of does it itself. Like I
Mm-hmm.
very rarely reach out to people now. Um, Unless I've heard them speak, I see something that they've posted, I know something that they've done that I really, really want to get connected. It's kind of like now our brand and what we do, it just snowballed. And so that access has been the thing, just the fact, the access and the reach of the work that we're doing to other people. And then the other piece of that is the community has been the greatest thing. So we are a Facebook group first and foremost. Now I'm in the process of officially becoming, like, I very soon made us registered us as a charitable organization in the District of Columbia in DC, where I was living when I started the group, but I didn't fill out the nonprofit paperwork. That
Uh-huh.
now is pending. But our community is a community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, if you ask me today how many CDPD members we have, I tell people, oh, across all social media platforms, anywhere between 3,500 to 5,000. But our community on Facebook has 998 members or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And within that community, that is probably the best thing that has happened. I see people who may have come into the group and the day they were laid off and posted like the worst message you ever want to see. And then I see that person in our Zoom sessions, watching our presentations, commenting, and then that person comes and says they got a job, you know? So yeah, so those things. Of course, there's the recognition and, I've gotten plenty accolades. I now have this grant. Um, I got a grant again because someone on LinkedIn saw the work I was doing and said, "Hey, don't you live in Baltimore? You're eligible to apply for this grant." I got it. And those things are great, but more than that is that we've touched so many lives. I think that's the greatest thing.
Yeah, yeah, you've helped so many people, and it's not just within the United States. The group has gone internationally as well.
Mhm.
Uh, so I That's correct, right? You
Mhm.
have people in the group that are from overseas, whether it be Africa or wherever. There are people in the group. So, did you think it was going to happen like this? Did you think it was going to get this big, where it's not just confined to the United States, but it has gone globally?
So when people started reaching out to me because I worked overseas, there were
Mhm,
many people from sub-Saharan Africa, whether it was Tanzania, Kenya, and South Africa were in that in that original 53 people. Then when you work internationally, you work with people from all over the world. So there were a couple of people who were all over, like Europe, Singapore. What surprised me though is we then began to attract people in countries that I had no connection with. And that's what surprised me. So, the countries that I knew, my former coworker was really from Australia. And so now her brother's in the group or something like that.
mhm,
But I had no real connections to South America. I definitely had no connections to Ireland, Croatia. Like, it's just like, I'm like, okay, that's where you are. Wow. So,
mhm,
and you see that in the Facebook analytics. And
mhm,
then on LinkedIn, then people, like a lot of people from India have, there it's everywhere. And then we got to West Africa, which I had no connections in West Africa. So West Africa is represented, Nigeria, Ghana is deep, and so that's represented. So that surprised me that the countries that I had no dotted line or connection to, that those people are there. And then the US, like, I thought it was just be my friends that I was helping, and it's, strangers who have now
yeah.
become friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of people that needs help. What have been, if you can share, what have been some of your feedback from the people in the group or the people that you've connected with? What have been there? Because they must have reached out to you and say, thank you for this help, or thank you for this presentation. It's just what I needed, or stuff like that. What were some of the feedback that you got?
Oh yeah, I get those all the time. And that's why I say like that kind of that's when they say like, "Oh, I helped them so much." I'm like, "You don't know you're helping me because I myself, of course, we're in a pandemic. I'm away from my family. I have my own, coming into the pandemic.
Mhm,
So I have so many. I mean, like one of the ones that I love is when someone tells me that something a presenter said speaks directly to their situation.
mhm,
um, because that's one of the things that I believe. I believe that, your story, where you are right now, Molly, when you tell your story of your journey, there are people in the group or who catch it on a replay who are not in the group who are where you were when you began, and
mhm,
hearing that piece of your hearing your journey will help them move to where you are, right?
mhm.
So I love when people say that. That resonates with me, or I'm right there where she was when she was at her rock bottom. That's where I am, and
Yeah.
I know that I can get out of that. So I get a lot of those. I also get a lot of people who say, "Oh, I totally didn't agree with that at first until I heard the way Molly explained it, right?" And so I'm like, great. And they'll even say, well, when I'll leave you because you're here. So when Molly did the presentation on networking, I was like, I don't believe anything she says. Like, that doesn't work. But
Mm-hmm.
then when Sharita did it, I said, oh, okay, when you guys are saying the same thing, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I love that too, because it further it just further reiterates to me that everyone is not for everybody. And
Yeah.
that's why we need to amplify everybody's voice, right? So just think about it. We just had Eric James Stevens on. He's a professor, was a professor, and now he's a business data analyst. And he gave the story of his 7-year-old, I think, how she's having a terrible year in school, which many of them are because of the online learning, and that her teacher was out and she had a sub for like 2 weeks, and she changed into a totally different student. Same work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the teacher, right? And so
Yeah.
that's why we need to amplify multiple voices. So those are the kinds of things that we get. Um, or my husband's been telling me that forever, but when Molly said it, it really hit home. I understood it. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That is definitely great. Yes. So, question, you might not know this answer, but
Mhm.
how many presentations do you think that you guys have done so far?
Oh, we have about 78, and I only know that because um my graphics person, so okay, today will be the 74th, and I have 4 more that she's done the flyer for, so that's 78. And that's the only reason, because the graphics person, she saves them as new session, hyphen, and then the number.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I know. But then but you can add about, Janae did a 5-day session. So Janae did a 5-day session, but it still has the number. Say if it was the 50th, it's still 50, 50, 50, even though it was
Mm-hmm.
5 days. So if you add hers in there, you probably add 4 more. So we probably would be at about 82.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot in that short space of
Mm-hmm.
time. And your group has grown and it expanded so much from since when you started. Was it in April of 2020
Mm-hmm. We officially
or
started
something?
April 26th.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
what would you attribute to your success of the group from there until now?
Um, well, first of all, because of the pandemic, first, people need communities. That's it, right? People need communities. But prior to the pandemic, we probably would not have had this much success because people didn't en masse need this type of a community,
Mhm.
right? So, people typically go on Facebook, think about any group you're in. Like, I'm in a lot of travel groups. I love to travel, right? So
Mhm.
that's what pre-pandemic I was in. I never go in my travel groups now. It's all, I want to travel. Everybody's upset, right? So part of it is, it was the right time to have a community like this, because people needed this kind of community. There's so much shame and stigma associated with being unemployed and underemployed. And so to be able to jump into a community where everyone's not underemployed and everyone's not unemployed in the group. There are people who come in like you to just be of service to the group and learn, right?
Mhm.
And you're happy in your entrepreneurial pursuits and you're happy with your career. So so we have people who want to serve, but knowing if you are unemployed or underemployed, that you can come to a space where there's no judgment. There are people who are just like you. There are people who are where you were. They're happily employed where you thought you were 2 years ago, and so you can then share some of the things that you can't share with a spouse or friends or family. And that is what I think attributes to the growth. And I tell people all the time how I say, like, we have between 3,500 and 5,000 people. When I have almost 3,000 people on Instagram, but you can't count those Instagram followers because they flakes. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Instagram, you are. Okay. So you got them. Then, you know, I have about 5,300 connections on LinkedIn, many of them who come to our presentations, but will never come to a Facebook group,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then I have a handful of people who only catch us on YouTube. And now that there's Clubhouse, I have about 1,900 people from Clubhouse, right? So, but when you add all that up, I say we have about 3,500 people that I could call members that email me, that want to know what's coming next, that want to be of service. We have a lot of people who want to serve the group, but they don't come in at all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is. I think it was the right time for us. And we are non-judgment place. Just come as you are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like if networking has evolved somewhat since the pandemic,
Yeah, big
because
time.
I always say in networking, although the in person is a lot more personable, some people are not comfortable. They're just not comfortable with the in person. And I think so the pandemic has opened up that space where people can be themselves and not have to be in front of your face and
Yeah.
make it awkward, because there's a lot of people are introverts, a lot of people don't know what to say, how to put across their feelings. And just by being able to be in a group like yours, or in a space where there's no judgment, then they're able to flex their networking muscle, so to speak, or they're able to practice that skill and get better at
Mhm.
it without feeling pressured of being in that networking event space where everyone is watching you and everyone is an executive or this at some point,
Yeah.
and you're trying to measure up as someone trying to get in there into that conversation. So I think in a way the pandemic has allowed that for people to really connect on a deeper level, although it's
Mhm.
behind a computer
Yeah.
or a device, but it still seems like the connection is a lot more closer and a lot more genuine. What do you think about that? Because that's how I feel.
No, I definitely feel that way. And I also feel that even though it's not face to face, we are giving people more grace right now, right? There's more grace and there's more kindness. So there are things that would never be acceptable to happen pre-pandemic when you're on a Zoom,
Hmm.
right? So things like my dog jumping up into the screen all the time, right? Which, or kids, or you hear somebody's microwave go off because their wife is right there in the kitchen, or their kid, right?
Hmm.
So that breaks that kind of ice of that person isn't just like me. I mean, that
Hmm.
that person is better than me or more than me, right?
Hmm.
We're all people.
Yeah.
So you're able to approach it from a place of more comfort, I believe. Um, and we really, really see with this pandemic how much we need that interaction.
Hmm.
Right. So how much more we need to interact with people. So there are a lot of people who are introverts or are people who were not, and it's not just introverts who are not comfortable networking, but people who were not comfortable networking pre-pandemic, who are really flexing their networking skills right now. And really proud of themselves and post their wins about networking. I have quite a few personal friends who never would post on LinkedIn, never would connect with anybody on LinkedIn. They just had it there with, 4 followers, 4 connections. And they're like over 1,000 now because we've helped them see, look, everybody out there is just like you. Go
Yeah.
on, do it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I think that the environment is just ripe for it right now. And it's going to change the way we interact and network when this pandemic is over. I think people are going to have much more strength and confidence in their abilities because they've been doing it now for almost a year, many people.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Business Insider
Hmm.
article and being in their in the top 23. So
Hmm.
you said a connection really
Hmm.
told you about
Nicole
it.
Merrill.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's go into that a little bit and talk about what you had to do to actually be among those other coaches.
So Nicole Merrill posted, like I said, she posted up that she nominates me. And
Mhm.
then I was so surprised because she tagged me in that. And I
Mhm.
remembered that she was on one of Elvin's Powerful Women Wednesday, but we weren't connected. Um, so I, of course, connected with her. We didn't speak until I actually got in the Business Insider. Isn't that funny? Like we were trying
Mm-hmm.
to meet, we didn't. But after she did that, I was so honored and shocked. She used to be, I think, Associate Director of Career Development for the Yale School of Business, for
Mm-hmm.
the MBA program at Yale. So I came into the group and I just said, hey, this woman just nominated me for the Business Insider Most Innovative Career Coach of 2020, and I'm not a career coach. And so then, because I never call myself a career coach, I still don't. I'm a career strategist, but I wasn't even calling myself a strategist at that point. And so I told the members, do you think I'm an innovative career coach? If you are, if you think so, go ahead and support the nomination.
Yeah.
And the members did. And then the Business Insider contacted me with a couple of questions. They didn't publish all of the responses in the article because it was a number of questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, you were nominated. We'd like your responses to these questions, and then we'll decide. And then they just contacted me and said, congratulations. You are one of the 23. It's a global list, so we have people all over the world on the list. You are one of the 23, and can we have a picture? And da 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 da. And so that's how that went. And it's definitely an honor, especially because I didn't see myself as a career coach. I definitely have always been a connector. I've always connected people with people and resources. And even in my professional life,
Mm-hmm.
that was a large part of my work, is that I could always connect people in the organization with the resources they need to be set up for success, or position the organization to obtain the resources that it needed uh, to be prepared for success. And I just always did that. You knew I was the plug for everything. Whatever you needed, I could plug you into a person to get it. Uh, so that was me, but I didn't think I was actually helping, like coaching. So it's definitely an honor. It's still an honor.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of passion to purpose. That's the beauty of being purposeful in what you love to do. Because sometimes when you're not even looking at something, someone is looking at you and looking at what you're doing and will recognize you for your hard work and for what you're doing, whether it be in your community or wherever, because you're affecting lives. And
Yeah.
so without even asking for it, those things that are supposed to come your way or be in your presence, it's going to happen because you're giving and you're putting out. So that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. I wanted to ask, now you have the Corona Days group, you have it on Facebook, you have on LinkedIn, but now you've created another whole new brand new platform on Clubhouse. I am so jealous. I am not on this Clubhouse because I am an Android person and everybody's telling me almost every
Hmm.
day when I interact with someone or a colleague or a connection, they're like, are you on Clubhouse? Are you on Clubhouse? I'm like, what? You guys need to stop asking me if I'm on Clubhouse. What is up with this Clubhouse?
Yeah, you're missing
Tell
out
me.
now.
Tell me what is up with this Clubhouse. Try to come on, convince me to come over to the other side.
So I'll tell you this. So one of my oldest friends visited. I call her my sister. She visited this past weekend, and I have a room on Clubhouse on Saturdays where we celebrate wins. It's just you come in, you tell us, what win you have, and we support you in that celebration. And so I had it on speaker so she could see, because she's an Android user, she's missing out. And she was like, "Oh my goodness, like this is so amazing. I might just," and then she picks up her phone and she's Googling refurbished iPads, right? Like, should I could get a refurbished iPad for $150. You think I could do it that way? I'm like, sure. So yes, so Clubhouse. Uh I didn't understand it when I was invited on. I just got on December 1st. I didn't know what it was. And I was hooked as soon as I got on, because you talk about if you think LinkedIn, I always say LinkedIn gave us like 3 degrees of separation instead of 6. Yeah, I challenge you, like anybody you want to be connected to, like even if it's Bill Gates, I bet you I could tell you 3 ways if you have a network that you could get to him on LinkedIn, right? So fine. So now there's Clubhouse, and you could just be in a room. So this is a true story. I was in a room about Peloton, the bike.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get one. I'm not sure about making that investment yet. So I'm in the room about the Peloton, and I'm in the room and I just hear them say, something, something, Gail. And I'm on stage and I look on my phone, and a woman starts talking. It's Gail King.
No.
Yeah, it was Gail King, and this was like my first or second week on Clubhouse, and
Oh,
she's right
wow.
next to me on my phone. So the way like the way you see it, I see my face and I see hers, and I see that she's talking. I
Uh-huh.
mean, not that Gail, like it's but she's not like my favorite person. But I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, like I'm in a room with Gail King,
Uh-huh.
and it's not just that you're in the room with them, and actually what she said added great value to the conversation because it was the Peloton people in the room,
Mm-hmm.
the marketing people, the product design people, and she wanted to know, when is the elliptical coming out? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, they have an elliptical coming out? I'm not going to buy a bike. I'm going to wait for that elliptical. Thank you, Gail. But yeah, oh, Gail would know, right?
Yeah.
Because she's on CBS and she's Oprah's
Uh-huh.
best friend. I wouldn't know
Uh-huh.
that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine. So, I'm right there in the room with her. And that's when I was like, wait a minute, what is this app? I'm just trying to get information. And then I realized that there's so many people that you want to be connected with. So right there's no degree of separation between me and Gail,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I could be an idiot and unmute my mic and say, Gail, I love you, right? I shouldn't do that on that app, right? But there is a way that I could just reach out and touch people that I would not normally be able to reach out and touch. And so on a platform, so there are all kind of people sharing information,
Mm-hmm.
asking questions. So you can ask all kinds of questions. Elon Musk was there, but I don't really care about Elon Musk. But people had the opportunity to ask him questions.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who, either they're inventors or they want to work for Tesla. And that was a great opportunity to have him, talk about his vision, and you be right there in the audience and have the opportunity to ask him a question.
Mm-hmm.
So there are also all these stories of people who do these pitches, and venture capitalists then invest in them, or people who go on a stage and pitch and get shot down, and then a venture capitalist goes in their box and says, they didn't like it, I did, let me give you
Mm-hmm.
this $1 million or whatever it is, right? So you have
Yeah.
that going on. But for us in Corona days, which I didn't call it Corona days, I said, how could I help people on this app, and what would most benefit me on this app? And it was career mentor days. So the app is designed for people to interact,
Mm-hmm.
at a closer level socially, and to share information and knowledge. And what better way than for me to, while I have all these people from all industries and all countries, well, not all, there's some countries that aren't on the app yet, uh, that I could create a space for people who really just want to help people by
Mm-hmm.
sharing knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I call it Career Mentor Days. And same days. We have the same days behind our career development that we
Mm-hmm.
had behind this pandemic. So many of us, particularly if you are a BIPOC or from any marginalized group, or if you are a white person with no money, you don't come from money, you don't come from wealth, you're just a regular Joe Schmo. There are a lot of things that you just don't know, and you need a mentor to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us have never had a mentor
Yeah.
along the career journey. And
Mm-hmm.
so and because of it, I say we were in a daze. We took positions that didn't serve us. We worked for organizations too long. You didn't have a mentor to ask, how do I invest my money, or should I invest in retirement? You didn't have a mentor to ask, should I buy this house or should I buy this car? Well, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I create the space, and what we do is, if somebody wants to be a mentor for the moment, say I have a room on networking, you can jump into that room for an hour, a half an hour, and you can share knowledge about networking. You've been a
Mhm.
mentor to the people in that room. If you want to do something longer term, I have a Google form you would fill out, and then I would connect you with a mentee. And so that's what we have there. And we've had that group now almost 2 months. Yeah, because it was like January 26th. It started like late January, and we have almost 1,900 members. And it's going really well. It's going really well. Like people need help. Like we just need help. And unfortunately, many of us believe that if things aren't working for us professionally, that we're supposed to go back to school and keep going back to school and keep going back to
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, excuse me. So that's another thing with the group, both
Yeah.
groups, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you do need to go get training, but sometimes you don't. You can do a whole
Mhm.
lot of things that you don't necessarily think you can do without having to go get another whole degree. And a mentor can help you with that. So yeah, that's what we do on Clubhouse.
I hope it would be sustainable even after we're able to go back outside and people are interacting and getting busy again. Because I hope I think a lot of people would learn this lesson, but I hope because in my own journey during the pandemic and I said this to a mentor of mine. I was saying to him, I feel like I found myself again during this pandemic because it has given me time to literally slow down and focus and think about things more and build on relationships that I wanted to build on, but I was too busy to build on them because you're running to work, and after work maybe you have the things to do, you have the kids, you have to go here, have to go there. So the pandemic has kind of created that pause, and like you said, that days where you have to slow down and take stock of the way how you're living, how you're going about things, how you're doing things. And I really hope that even after we've come out of this and everybody's vaccinated and everybody's back to business, I really hope that people would still see the need for these apps like Clubhouse and stuff like that to maintain those connections.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that if we did not have this pandemic, Clubhouse wouldn't be as popular as it is now. Like, and the popularity of Clubhouse has a lot to do with the fact that it is an app that you can hear people's voice
Mm.
without seeing them, right? So I can be in my most comfortable state and you can hear me talk. And if I'm in my most comfortable state, I'm probably being much realer than I would be if I'm on a Zoom, right? A little more and willing to be a little more open and vulnerable than I would be on a Zoom. Um, but when the world opens back up, no, I don't think that there will be as much action on Clubhouse or Facebook or LinkedIn. None of these, right?
Mhm.
Instagram too. You've seen like Instagram has now become this very businessy place where everybody's business, not just selling, not just selling an item, but everyone's business is now on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I am believing and hopeful that some of some of the things that came out of this pandemic in terms of understanding that we need to be more understanding of people's life situations,
Mhm.
children at the home, taking care of an aging parent. Uh, I am hoping that and believing that workplaces will be a lot more understanding of that. And then us, I'm giving so many people more grace than I would have pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
right? And even asking myself, well, should I have done this? Or should I be a little more, always asking the question.
Yeah.
And I'm believing that some of that will spill over. One of the things I am terribly concerned about on topic but off is that the world is going to open up, with the vaccinations, everything, we're going to be fine. And I'm not going to be able to do the things that I love because everything's going to be lines and lines and lines of people trying to do everything that I like to do. So I'm not going to be able to get in a movie. I'm not going to be, I want to go to yoga, my Bikram yoga class. And I just keep imagining that I won't ever get in a class
It's
because,
gonna be
you
it's
know,
gonna be
yeah,
crowded. It's gonna be
yes, I'll
crowded.
never get there.
The
It'll be
gym,
months and months.
the gyms are
Hmm.
gonna be crowded. The parks are
Yes,
gonna be crowded. Everybody's
everything.
just gonna go wild because I can finally be outside.
Yeah. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but that's one thing that I'm so worried about. I want to go to yoga so bad. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not gonna get in there.
Yeah, I wanna do yoga too, but I wanna try the oh, well, we're getting off of topic, but it's okay. I wanna try the what they call it, the hot yoga.
That's what it is. It's Bikram yoga. Well, it doesn't have to be Bikram, but I practice Bikram, which is a hot yoga. It's 105 degrees, and I want to
Yeah,
get in there.
yeah,
Like it.
yeah,
Oh gosh, it helps for every ache and pain you might ever have. It
yeah.
it definitely. It's like everything. It change your world when you get in there.
And trust me, the ache and pains are there. They are
Hmm.
coming. They are coming. So I have a question here. What advice would you give to others wanting to take that leap, to take that next step? Because and something that I've noticed in the pandemic too is that, and I've done it myself too, is I've been more serious with my business and with my entrepreneurship journey and really focusing more on that. And I know there are a lot of people listening that might want to take that leap. They want to start something, they want to do something, but they don't know how to start or where to start, or they are afraid to start because of what might be the outcome. They don't want to fail. So what would you say to people like that who are thinking about doing something but hasn't quite taken that leap yet?
Well, I could just say just do it, but that doesn't help you, right? So, but that is part of it. Just do it. One, I'll say this, which may not help you, but this pandemic has shown all of us that life is short, right? I saw people who were very healthy die, that they shouldn't have died. They weren't in any of the categories, right? So life is short. It's up to us to make it sweet. Whatever, however you determine sweet. And if you determine sweet by pursuing a passion, whether it's a business or a totally different career field, uh, you are doing yourself a disservice by not doing that, right? By not trying. So once you fail, you pick yourself up. I had like 7 lives. I had a lot of failure. One day I'll host a session and I'll tell people about all of them. Okay. You just try again. That's what the next day is for,
Yeah.
right? So the next day you have you have another opportunity to try again. And then for people who are in that and don't have clarity around what it is they want to do, but just know that there's something
Hmm.
that they want something different. For those people, I'll say join our community
Yes.
or another community, or work with a career strategist or a career coach who can help, a clarity coach. There are a lot of clarity coaches, right? Uh, this time of the pandemic was a time that I took to get clarity of my own vision in this days.
Hmm.
Okay. In this days, I had, and I think many of us had the opportunity, if that was what we wanted, to really sit down and be reflective about what it is I want, what's making me happy, what I'm passionate about, what I will never tolerate again in whether it was a relationship or a job or anything, right? That you sit down and you say, hey, life is short, and if there's another pandemic 5 years from now, I want that the next 5 years I've done as much as I can to live the fullest life that I can live. So it's a lot that I said, but in a nutshell, um, I think if you don't have clarity of vision, try to work toward getting clarity of vision. And oftentimes that's not on your own, you know. It does take a lot of self reflection. Uh, and then if you do have clarity that it is a business, go on out there and do it. Try it. Like life is too short for you not to.
There you have it. There you have it, people. It's Dennett Edwards. Okay, before we close out, tell everyone how they can contact you and how they can join your group.
Oh, sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Dennett Edwards. I'm the only one, Dennett Edwards. And then our group is called Corona Daze, Daze Professional Development Group. And that's on Facebook. So you can find us on either on LinkedIn, on Clubhouse. I am Dennett Edwards, and our group is Career Mentor Daze, Daze. So you'll find me.
Yes.
Google Dennett Edwards. I come right up.
Yes. And guys, never fear. I will be putting all of that information in the podcast notes so that when you listen to the podcast, you can check the notes and get all of that information. Remember to support this podcast. And if you need any information, any further information, my contacts will be in the podcast notes as well. Then I want to thank you so much for coming through and talking to us. This has been another episode of the Network Hour podcast. And before I leave, I always leave you with a quote. And today's quote is an African proverb, and it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go with others. And this is very, very true for what we have been talking about today. And the topic today was from passion to purpose. And you cannot get there on your by yourself. No man is an island. And if you want to get far, bring others along with you so that you can go on that journey. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Dennett, so much for coming
Thank you for
out.
having me.
And this has been wonderful. Until next time, have a happy weekend, everyone. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.